On to talk more about Wang Yi's visit to the U.S. is Douglas Paal. He's a vice president for studies at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to get your take on day 2 of the meetings between Secretary Kerry and Minister Wang Yi. Do you feel that there has been any groundwork accomplished leading up to the UN General Assembly next week?
Well, you know, we've entered a new opportunity to close some of the gaps between the U.S. and China that had grown over Syria and over Iran, with these new initiatives coming out of new President Rouhani and the Putin initiative in Syria. So that's improved the tone generally. And then, of course, Foreign Minister Wang Yi arrived in Washington with a very positive message where he wants to convert discussion of the new kinds of major country relations discussed so often by President Xi Jinping into concrete areas of cooperation. So I think it's a pretty positive message. But there are lots of skeptics around. You know, a lot of people don't think Syria is going to work out well, or that Iran will work out well, and we could be back to more difficult times.
Well, of course, but we did see, you know, the U.S. come to some sort of agreement with the Russians recently, so anything can happen. But do you feel that either side did come any closer to some of the disagreements that we've been talking about, Syria, the DPRK? And I want to get your take on the 6-party talks. Yeah. If the U.S. could be open to that.
Well, the U.S. isn't open to the talks yet because the North has not returned to the positions it had taken under Chinese stewardship back in 8 years ago, in 2005. The U.S. wants to see a commitment to denuclearization. Having said that, in the time since the new leader in North Korea launched a satellite and set off another nuclear weapon, China has been moving them toward a restatement of their non-nuclear principles. They're not there yet, and China may not get them all the way there. So we'd have to acknowledge that the diplomacy exercised by China over the last 9 months has made the North Korean position move toward our hoped-for position a little bit.
Both Presidents Obama and Xi Jinping said a few months ago that they're working toward a new model of relations. And Wang Yi mentioned during this trip here to Washington that there was new momentum in this new Sino-U.S. relationship. Do you think that will continue? Because both these countries have been seemingly committed in all these various meetings we've seen them in over the last few months. What do you see going forward in the next year or 2 years?
Well, you know, I think there's a lot of room for cooperation on climate change, improving our dialogue on cyber theft and other cyber crimes, and in working together to keep the Taiwan Strait calm, and eventually moving on the Korean and South China Sea issues. These are you know, promising first days. It's very encouraging that Foreign Minister Wang Yi wants to come and set that kind of agenda, especially when there's so much going on that someone as focused as he is. He even pointed out something new, which is on Afghanistan, where the U.S. will be departing, and NATO will be departing Afghanistan next year. And the role of regional neighbors is going to become much more important. And he flagged that tonight in his speech at Brookings Institution, where he said that this will be a new highlight of U.S.-China relations. And I think he's right. China has been very slow to get involved, but the fact is, China lives right next door to Afghanistan and has a big interest there.
Do you think the United States, in the next few days, as the world leaders meet in New York City, do you think the United States can maybe overcome some of the big domestic issues it's dealing with right now, with the debt ceiling and everything that also is going on, to keep an open mind on the international issues and some of the things that other countries are looking to the U.S. for?
It'll be a challenge. And I think it's fair to say a lot of us observers who've been in and out of government think the Obama administration is off to a pretty shaky second term on the international side, and they have big challenges coming up with a dysfunctional Congress and economic woes. But the U.S. is a big country. We've always come through before, and I'm kind of confident we'll do it again. The question is at what price, short-term and long-term, before we finally stabilize our ability to do both domestic and international policy at the same time.
All right, Douglas Paal, we always appreciate your insight. Thank you so much for joining us here on the show.
You're welcome.